Well, everyone, it's time for us to go ahead and take a look at the iPhone 11 Pro Max and compare it against the iPhone 14 Plus and see which specific phone is a better one for you. If you want to pick up either one of these phones, the links will be down in the description. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely tell that both these phones are a little bit different, but they're also kind of similar. On the front of the iPhone 11 Pro Max, this phone came out in 2019, and it was the flagship. It was the most expensive iPhone you can purchase at that time. And this thing, honestly, was a really good upgrade from the 10s Max, in my opinion. You had a 6.5-inch Super Retina OLED display on the front, you had a little bit of a notch up top, but otherwise, this specific panel, I think, still looked pretty good. It wasn't a flat side, so it seems like there's a little bit more thickness in terms of the bezel around it. But considering this phone is like 3 years old as of this point, I think this thing still looks pretty good in 2022, especially when compared to the iPhone 14 Plus, which has a bigger 6.7-inch Super Retina Extra OLED panel. The thing with this panel, though, is that it is relatively it's a little bit bigger than the 11 Pro Max, but the styling is the same. Like, you still have the notch, you still have a little bit of bezel around it. So I will tell you, for the most part, the 14 Plus screen might look a little bit better. This is a aftermarket display on this one too, so for our standard 11 Pro Max, you might be getting a better display on the 11 Pro Max, but the 14 Plus display does get brighter, so definitely keep that in mind. Now, in terms of thinness and thickness, you might be able to tell that there's not really that crazy big of a difference. We have a flat side on the 14 Plus, where the 11 Pro Max has kind of like a curved side. Another big thing is that the build quality of the 11 Pro Max, I think, is overall better, especially with this like reflective material. But another thing is the 11 Pro Max actually has a SIM card tray within that phone. The iPhone 14 is all eSIM, so kind of a disadvantage, but you are getting a little bit more capability, I would say, from that standpoint on the 11 Pro Max. Now, in the back, we also have a little bit of a different setup as well. So on this iPhone 14 Plus, we have this standard glass back with a dual camera setup. With the iPhone 11 Pro Max, we have this frosted glass back with a triple camera setup. So it's kind of crazy that a phone that is like 3 years older than the iPhone 14 Plus has a little bit of a better build quality and more camera sensors than this phone. Now, I will say camera sensors, just because you have more of them, doesn't always mean that it's better. There are still a lot of advantages for something like the 14 Plus, but I will say, very interesting setup on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, considering you can buy an 11 Pro Max for substantially cheaper than the 14 Plus, probably like half the cost of the iPhone 14 Plus. Now, the iPhone 14 Plus does have a few more features built in. You have 5G built within this phone. You have emergency crash detection. You have emergency SOS satellite mode. You have MagSafe capability here, which is cool. But you still have wireless charging on both these phones, IP certification on both these phones as well. So there's still a lot of capability between both. But I will say the 11 Pro Max has the better build quality. The 14 Plus probably has a better display and the better feature set, I would say. Now, in terms of the next thing, which is the software longevity between both phones, it's kind of tough to tell, but it's quite obvious. The 11 Pro Max is going to not last as long as the 14 Plus. Now, how much longer it's going to last on the 14 Plus is tough to tell, but if you kind of remember, the 11 Pro Max, it came out in 2019. So far, it's like third in line. The 2017 iPhones are the last in line right now with iOS 16. And let's just say the 2018 iPhones get iOS 17. This iPhone is probably going to end off with iOS 18, something along those lines. So you still have several more years. You still have like at least like 3 more years on the 11 Pro Max. So this iPhone really isn't going anywhere. But if you want the phone that's going to last the longest amount of time, the 14 Plus is definitely the better way to go. You're going to be getting a longer lasting phone from the 14 Plus than the 11 Pro Max. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 14 Plus has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 11 Pro Max has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background, so let us get into it. Phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 14 Plus is here, 11 Pro Max is here. Music, 3, 2, 1. And 2 different pop-ups on both. This one was a little bit different, so we'll let that one slide. Settings, 3, 2, 1. So even on the settings application, I think was faster on the iPhone 14 Plus. So I'm going to get into health, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 14 Plus slightly faster. So I'm going to get into Apple TV, 3, 2, 1. And iPhone 14 Plus slightly faster. Podcast, 3, 2, 1. 14 Plus again is faster. App Store, 3, 2, 1. Totally messed that one up, so we'll just let that one load up. I think the 14 Plus would have probably been faster though, scrolling through. Now they're both at 60 Hz on their displays, so there shouldn't really be a crazy big deal or difference here. But scrolling through, both are roughly around the same. Hopping out of this one, it's going into books, which I don't have. I do, 3, 2, 1. 14 Plus I think was faster, but they were on two different panels here, so we'll kind of let that one slide as well. Let's go into stocks, 3, 2, 1. 14 Plus again is a faster one. Let's go into notes, 3, 2, 1. I think the 11 Pro Max was faster there. Reminders, 3, 2, 1. Okay, iPhone 14 Plus again is a faster one. Mail, 3, 2, 1. 14 Plus, clock, 3, 2, 1. Okay, hopping out of this one, photos, 3, 2, 1. It's gonna be some pop-ups. Okay, let's go hop out of here. Camera, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go and take a photo. I'm gonna turn off live mode here. 3, 2, 1. Let's go and open up that photo. And little tiny things like that you're going to see are going to be faster overall on the iPhone 14 Plus. And even on the gesture side, if you're kind of scrolling through, you're going to be noticing that it's going to be overall a less glitchier experience on the iPhone 14 Plus than on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, although both of them are doing very, very good right now. Hopping out of this one, let's go and open up something like Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And I will say for a lot of bigger games that I've already tested between both, you're definitely going to be getting very, very good experiences between both. But I will say the 14 Plus is going to be the faster phone pretty much in every single area. You're also getting more RAM on the 14 Plus. It's a newer chipset. This phone should be faster than the 11 Pro Max. So when it kind of comes down to it, at least from this basic test, the iPhone 14 Plus is definitely the faster phone here. The 11 Pro Max, though, I think still holds its own, and I think it still does a pretty good job. But it's quite obvious, in my opinion, that the 14 Plus is going to be the faster one for sure. Now, in terms of the camera setup, this is something that's actually very, very interesting. So with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, you have that triple camera setup, wide, ultra-wide telephoto lens. With the iPhone 14 Plus, you have a wide and an ultra-wide sensor. Now, both phones can do 4K at 60 on the front and the back, which is really, really great. But the 11 Pro Max, for coming out in 2019, it's actually pretty interesting how good this phone is still, at least like in my opinion. Now, I used the 11 Pro for about a year, and that was a tremendous phone, and I never complained about the camera. This phone, you do have 10x zoom, which is great. You have 0.5x zoom, which is great as well. But you really only have portrait mode here. Like, you have like slow mode and other stuff, but there's not really a lot of crazy cool features here compared to some other phones like the iPhone 14 Plus. So in my opinion, the 11 Pro Max camera is still good, but when compared, you are getting some features here and there between both. So with the 14 Plus, you're getting the lack of a telephoto lens, but you're getting a really, really good camera built in. For one, you're getting that ultra-wide camera. So for one, you're getting that ultra-wide camera, which, like I mentioned before, is really, really cool. You don't get 10x zoom, you get 5x zoom, which, it's kind of a disadvantage, but whatever. You're still getting video mode, but you're getting action mode now, which is like a super stabilized type of video, which is really awesome, which I really like. But you also get cinematic mode, which also is really, really cool. So it's basically like portrait mode for video, and it'll blur out the background a lot more of certain video subjects and stuff. And that is another really cool thing. So you're getting overall more features on the iPhone 14 Plus camera, although you're getting an extra camera sensor on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. And to kind of sum up this whole entire video, what I will tell you is the iPhone 14 Plus is definitely, I think, the overall better phone. I think the 14 Plus is a little bit expensive, to be honest, but you're getting a better performing chipset, you're getting more RAM, you're getting better camera kind of overall, you're getting a way better battery life, better performance. I mean, you're getting better everything, longer lasting phone. The 11 Pro Max is just a cheaper phone, which is really cool because you can get this thing for much cheaper than the 14 Plus. You can probably find these things for less than $500 everywhere, and you're getting still a really good build quality, better build quality in this one than that one. You're getting a really good camera still, really good performance, still many more years of software support, decent battery life. Like, this is still a pretty good phone, but if they were the same price, I would go for the 14 Plus, but the 11 Pro Max is still a very decent deal in my opinion. So in terms of that kind of covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.